You know that moment when everything inside you whispers that you're stuck, that even if you keep going, if you keep grinding, the next hour, the next day, the next year will feel exactly the same, hollow, empty, like life is passing by while you're frozen in place. I want you to feel that for a second. Close your eyes if you need to. Imagine sitting in your car after work, engine off, the world silent around you, and a single thought cutting through the noise. If the next 30 years feel like the last 10, I don't know how I'll survive. That moment, raw and undeniable, is where I started. That moment is where I realized something no one else can teach you. Looking right doesn't mean feeling right, and success isn't the applause of the world. It's the quiet satisfaction of your own soul, knowing you're alive and fully present in your own life. I was 38 when I had this realization. I had a decent job, a warehouse outside Philadelphia, the kind of job people call steady. I had a family, a house, a car, routines, everything people measure as success. But inside, I was watching my life like a stranger, a spectator of my own days. Nothing felt alive. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't reckless. I was numb. There's a difference between surviving and living. I was surviving, fulfilling roles, ticking boxes, and at night lying awake with the quiet dread that the rest of my life could feel just like this. That fear isn't loud, it doesn't scream, it's quiet, persistent, and it eats at you slowly like rust. One afternoon in that parking lot, staring at my dashboard, I understood that I had built a life that looked right and felt hollow. That's the moment most people run from. Most people try to drown it in work, in busyness, in obligation. Some explode, quit their jobs, leave their homes, chase fantasies. Some bury it, hope it goes away, and keep grinding. I did neither. And that is where my story begins. Not with a grand revelation, not with a miraculous change, but with a man I barely knew who forced me to see myself clearly without judgment. I ran into Dwight Hobson at a gas station a few days later. He was retired, a school teacher, 15 years older than me, someone I waved at when mowing lawns but never really knew. That day, he said, "You look like a man carrying a suitcase he forgot he picked up." I almost laughed, but something in his eyes made me pause. Something in the way he said it made me feel exposed, like he had read the weight I carried that I didn't even fully understand myself. I asked him what he meant, and instead of explaining, he invited me to go fishing that Saturday. I hadn't fished since I was 12, but I said yes. There was no reason not to. There was curiosity, a sliver of hope, and a desperate need to find something, anything, that might remind me who I was beyond the roles I filled. That Saturday morning, 5 a.m., standing by the quiet waters of Ridley Creek, coffee in hand, Dwight began to talk. Not about fish, not about the weather, but about himself. He told me about 26 years of teaching 8th grade history and waking up one morning at 54, realizing he had no idea who he was outside of that classroom. He thought retirement would free him. It didn't. It erased him. His whole identity had been built on being Mr. Hobson, the teacher, the mentor, the person people expected him to be. Without that, he didn't know what to do with his hands, his hours, his mind. He spent 2 years angry at himself, angry at the world, angry for never having built a life beyond his job, beyond his obligations. He had no hobbies, no deep friendships, no sense of who he was when no one needed him to be anything. I listened and felt something crack inside me. He was describing my future in slow motion. I was 38, already living the regret of a life built on autopilot, on filling every hour without ever creating one of my own. That realization hurt more than anything else I had ever felt. Not because it was shameful, but because it was real. It was undeniable. It was the truth that no one else could fix for me. And that, my friends, is where transformation begins, not with inspiration, but with brutal honesty. Dwight taught me the difference between filling your life and building it. Most of us fill our days with tasks, responsibilities, obligations. We answer emails, attend meetings, pick up kids, pay bills, mow lawns, clean kitchens, and go to bed exhausted. And when someone asks what we do for ourselves, we freeze. We don't know the answer. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that being an adult means serving, sacrificing, giving. And it does. Family, work, community, they all matter. But if you pour from an empty cup, if you exist only as a function performing tasks for others, you don't live. You survive. You become hollow. That is the danger no one talks about. So I started small. I signed up for a woodworking class, just 2 hours a week. My first birdhouse looked like a raccoon had attacked it, but I didn't care. For those 2 hours, I wasn't Peter the warehouse manager, the husband, the father, the man who fixes the gutters and pays the bills. I was just a man shaping wood, learning, creating, failing, and discovering that the pleasure of doing something purely for yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. I started reading novels again, losing myself in worlds I had abandoned at 25 because I told myself fiction was a luxury I couldn't afford. I started walking with no destination, noticing streets, creeks, gardens, people I had passed 1,000 times but never truly seen. I started talking to an old neighbor, Lou, a Korean War veteran, learning history and wisdom no textbook could ever teach. Each small act, each tiny pursuit of joy rebuilt me from the inside out. Nothing about my circumstances changed. Same job, same house, same routine. But I was different inside. I was alive. I was present. I began to understand that success isn't climbing a ladder someone else built. It's designing your own life, brick by brick, moment by moment. Discipline matters. Consistency matters. Showing up even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, even when it seems pointless, matters. The difference between a life that feels hollow and a life that feels full isn't luck or privilege. It's the small choices, made relentlessly, that connect you to yourself. The truth is, life is hard, it's messy, it's unpredictable, you will fail, you will stumble, you will feel fear, doubt, exhaustion, pain, loneliness. But within that struggle is the fuel for growth. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the world to recognize your progress. You need discipline. You need consistency. You need the courage to do small, ordinary things for yourself again and again until you remember who you are. Self-belief isn't a feeling, it's a practice. It's a commitment to yourself that no matter how hollow the past was, you will refuse to let the rest of your life feel the same. I watched Dwight age gracefully, a man who learned that the most important measure of a life isn't your title, your paycheck, or your accolades, but the presence you bring, the connections you nurture, the love you give, and the joy you cultivate. He passed in his garden at 79. At his funeral, people spoke of who he was, not what he did. The man who remembered your dog's name, the one who brought soup when you were sick, the one who sat with you in silence when life was unbearable. That is success. That is richness. That is a life worth living. I share this because I see it everywhere. People living lives they didn't design. People caught in roles and routines, feeling exhausted, invisible, hollow. You may not have time. You may have responsibilities. You may be drowning in obligations. I get it. But the real obstacle isn't time. It's courage. Courage to claim even a tiny space for yourself. Courage to step out of autopilot and do something that reconnects you with your own heart. Because the world doesn't need more automatons. It needs people alive inside, people who lead with presence, people who pursue joy, passion, and curiosity relentlessly. Start small, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Pick something you loved once, something that made your soul light up, and do it again. Paint, write, run, play, create, explore. Don't do it for anyone else. Don't do it to impress. Don't do it because it will get you somewhere or make you money. Do it because it reminds you that you exist fully, truly, and unapologetically. Self-belief grows when you nurture yourself. Discipline strengthens when you honor yourself. Consistency matters because your heart will only remember what you show up for repeatedly. The process is painful. The first steps feel awkward, guilty, selfish, but every small act compounds, slowly building a life you actually recognize when you wake up in the morning. You begin to reclaim your identity. You begin to reconnect with your own humanity. You begin to live, not just survive. And as you do, you'll notice a shift. Work doesn't drain you as much. Responsibilities don't feel like chains. You'll show up for your family, your community, and yourself with more presence than ever. You'll become someone who inspires not through words or fame, but through the quiet, unstoppable force of living fully. Look, I'm 73 now, and I can tell you this with certainty. Life isn't about climbing ladders someone else built. Life is about building your own. about filling your cup so you have something to pour, about showing up for yourself, for the people who matter, for the world, with honesty, with effort, and with love. You can't cheat time and you can't cheat life, but you can decide today that you will stop being a passenger and start being the driver. You can decide to reclaim the parts of yourself you abandoned in the name of duty or fear. You can choose to act consistently, even when it's small, even when it's hard, even when it feels pointless. That is the road to fulfillment. That is the path to joy. That is how you live a life that matters. Don't wait for a crisis to wake you up. Don't wait until 38, 48, or 73. Start now. Discipline yourself to show up for your own life. Stay consistent even when it's uncomfortable. Believe in your ability to change, to grow, to reconnect with the person you were meant to be. Success isn't trophies or titles. It's being fully present in the life you've been given, creating moments that matter, and becoming a person who is remembered not for what they did, but for who they were. This is your life, not someone else's. Not the life you inherited, not the life you were told you should live. Yours. Take it back, piece by piece. Start small. Show up, be consistent, believe in yourself. Build something real, something lasting, something alive inside, because if you don't, you risk drifting through decades of days and realizing too late that you never really lived. And that, my friend, is the hardest lesson of all. You are alive. That is your power. That is your opportunity. Own it. Fight for it. Nurture it. Fill your days with things that matter to you. Build your life from the inside out. The struggle will shape you. The discipline will strengthen you. The consistency will carry you. The self-belief will ignite you. And the success, the real, unshakable success, will follow. Not as a reward, not as applause, but as the quiet, undeniable knowledge that you have lived fully and fearlessly in your own skin on your own terms. The rest of the world can wait. This is your time. Show up.